In this segment, we're going to take a look at the divide and the directions tools, and they're found here on the left-hand toolbar. So I think what I'll do to get started is I'm just going to choose New, and we'll go through the interface to create a new embroidery design. So I'll start something with embroidery normal, with a light colored background. I'm going to choose to make a new monogram, and so the monogramming sort of interface comes up. And here I can set the size and the text, which is all of these things are kind of fine for what I want to do. So I have ABC with the font Arial narrow, and I've got the sort of overlapping lettering template, and then a border that's been selected. And so when I choose next, it gives me the color reduction window, and I'm just going to leave everything the way it is and say finish. So the design shows up on our screen. And so the tools I wanted to look at here are called divide and directions. And just as an example, you can use this directions tool to set the way that the stitching is going to appear. Now, if I look closely at this fancy border that I've selected, perhaps I'll find some area that I'm unhappy with, such as this. So if I look really closely at the stitching here, I'm not too thrilled with the way the software has divided up this shape. It sort of has it coming up one side and then down the other side. And what if I wanted the stitches to kind of turn around that corner? I could go to my directions tool and then click on the shape to start using the directions. And notice I get this little red dot, and it kind of follows me along the outline. So if I put it, for example, right there on that corner, and then click and drag, see how it allows me to create a directions line? When I let go right now, see what it did? It changed the direction of the stitching to kind of match what I had set. So that's the idea, that you have the ability to use this directions tool to add direction lines to your design so that you can control, and you can add as many lines as you need be. So if you don't feel like this is turned well around this corner, you can add yourself a little direction line to get it to give the stitch angle that you want. So that's adding directions. Now the other option is called divide. And so let's see if I can find an example of here it seems to want to think that this is like all one shape. The stitches kind of come through this area. And what if I wanted to kind of give it more definition, like this is separate from this? So that's where I could use this divide tool. And I'll just scroll in and show that I could add a little green dividing line right across there. And that way the software now knows that it's sort of like this piece and that piece. So even though it still is all one object that can be selected, adding things like dividing lines or direction lines, which you can see are still there, can give you the ability to control the way the stitching gets created. Now, notice on my divide line, all the divide lines and direction lines get a little X in the middle of them, and so if you don't want the line, you click on that X, and it deletes it. And then you can go ahead and add another one if you want to. You can add as many as you want, dividing lines and direction lines as you want. So, for example, on the direction lines here, if I decide I don't want this direction line, I can click on that X, and it removes that directions line. So, click and drag to add them, click on the X to remove them. So, that's the idea, that you have the ability to control the directions and sort of the divisions of the items that get created.